team, welcome to another episode of Badass Unscripted. It's good to see you. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is certainty. Anytime you hit people, it can be a single person, it can be a group of people, it can be an entire organization. But anytime you have an objective, when you want to go from where you are right now to some other place, a better place, maybe you want to increase revenue, introduce a new product, hire a new team, take on a new business challenge, open a new department, expand, grow yourself or your organization, you almost always run into uncertainty. And it's not so much uncertainty, it's the problem, it's our response to it. If you think about it, we hate being uncertain. It drives us nuts, doesn't it? We don't like being in front of a decision or an action where the outcome is unclear, where we're not sure, where it's not a safe bet. We don't know what's going to happen. That's scary for us. Scary for all of us. I think we all know people who are highly, not risk averse, but people who are highly adventurous. The opposite of risk averse. We all know people like that, and we wish we could be more like them, don't we? We wish it was easier for us to jump into the unknown. But the reality is, if you look at the struggles that most organizations, teams, groups have, it's about one thing. It's about being unable to move swiftly and confidently into that uncertain zone. We hate it. We're not good at it. And we don't want to get good at it. Here's the funny thing. The only way to get better at it is to get comfortable with uncertainty. You have to practice uncertainty to get more certainty. We don't believe that inherently. We struggle with the idea that the way to get more certainty is to plan more, to study, to wait, to get more opinions, to ask around, to read, to take a university course, to go to another planet. Whatever the case may be, we believe that the solution to dealing with uncertainty is to pause, to wait, to hesitate, to put off action. Isn't that true? But of course, what does that do? All it does is increase the fear, the concern, the anxiety around the uncertainty, because now it's a big thing. Why? Because we didn't flow from a state of not knowing to a state of doing and then into a state of knowing because we do. What happened instead? We look, we calculate, we get a little bit afraid, we stop, we hesitate, we pause. Now that pause creates not only the permission but the condition for anxiety to creep in, for hesitation, fear and anxiety to snowball into something much bigger than it needs or deserves to be. In reality, if we could just do one thing, if we could move swiftly from idea, from ambition, from goal to outcome, into action, we'd have a much easier time. That requires we get comfortable with whatever we're doing might not work. Our first instinct, our first experiment might fail. That's always going to be true. The best way to handle that is to minimize the cost of failure. To minimize the cost of delving into uncertainty with certainty, and therefore getting more certainty. Seems kind of backwards. Certainty and uncertainty exist in a continuum. The first thing you have to recognize is that certainty is really all about predicting the future. None of us have that capability, right? We can't jump into the future and somehow see it before it arrives. It's not possible. We can think about what could happen. We can think about potential outcomes. We can think about a lot of things. But the truth is, none of us can see into the future. So anytime that we spend trying to predict the future and control the future is usually fruitless. The only way to know what the future holds is to do it. And the more we do it, the more we learn about what might happen in the future under similar conditions, and that gives us a kind of certainty. But it all starts with being comfortable with uncertainty. We must never act completely without care, without concern, without consideration. But at the other end of the spectrum, seeking to be certain before we act will result in zero action. As with so many things in life, somewhere between the two poles is the best answer. Somewhere between the two extremes is the truth. But the only way to find it is to err on the side of uncertain so that we can get to certain more quickly. And that's difficult for all of us to do, but it's a must, don't you think? We have to be more comfortable with doing the uncertain thing. If you look at people who operate at high levels of success, high levels of pay, high levels of reward, they all operate in environments that contain high levels of risk. So let's not shy away from uncertainty. Let's not seek certainty as a prerequisite to action, because it is the singular, most common, number one cause of all of our failures. Waiting too long to act, waiting for perfect conditions, waiting for all of the information causes hesitation that causes us to slow down, to tighten up. And what happens when you tighten up? You trip, you fall, you get injured. I believe the Badass Agile Way insists that we be more comfortable with discomfort. We be more comfortable with uncertainty, because that's the only way you can get certain. Friends, you can reach out at badassagile.com. You can hire me to speak. You can check out my services and my products. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at badass_agile. I look forward to seeing you next time, and until then, stay badass.